Kanar. Never could develop a taste for it.
Hello, welcome back to Star Trek Sodium. This week I have a heap of facts all about the Star Trek Next Generation classic episode from Season 4, The Wounded. Now in The Wounded, this is quite a mediocre episode I think, but it actually transcends new heights by putting Chief O'Brien in the limelight where he belongs. And now onto some facts that you didn't even know.
You must decide if he's telling the truth.
Gate McSomething absolutely shocked everyone when she arrived at the studio with her collection of bowel bones. Filming ground to a halt for a poignant moment as she gathered everybody together to show them the contents of her large plastic pot. The bowel bones sloshed around in a mystery yellow liquid that the data robot actor, Spiner, would later reveal to be quite unpleasant. Once the novelty of the bowel bones had worn off, the actors and crew resumed their acting duties, but the Crusher actress would later go on to say that she was sad that the Wesley person wasn't around in the studio that day, as he had completely missed his opportunity to see the bowel bones. Bird enthusiast Marina Citrus had been possibly complaining about the painful tooth in the back of her mouth, and it needed to be removed as soon as possible by a reliable dentist. Apparently, because of the location of the tooth right at the back of her mouth, it would be a real challenge for them to get to, meaning that the only way to access the tooth would be for them to take her head apart. The procedure wasn't without its complications, and when she finally arrived back at work the next week with a combination of flowing hair and thick makeup to hide the dents on her face, no one could even tell that there'd been a problem at all with the obstruculous tooth. Famously being the episode to introduce us to the Cardassians, this episode is widely celebrated by fans of the Spoonheads as being the genesis of their fandom. The proto-Goldacut character here does a fine job of letting the audience know what the Cardassians are all about. No doubt his rich backstory was worth its weight in gold. The deleted scene where Gul Macet sits down with Captain Picard somberly and relays to him the tale of growing up in Lacarian City as a young boy with his father, eating Taspar eggs in the early evening while their mother, Nas Lochreen, worked at the munitions factory for 26 hours a day. Going off to school where he was thrapped more times than he could count until he could stand it no longer. It's character details like this that can make or break a character, especially when it's cut from the episode. To the casual observer, the ignorant onlooker, all of the Cardassians in this episode are very male. One of the Cardassians, in actual fact, is reportedly played by Playboy model Karen Carpenshark. Using the magic of the silver screen, her identity is well hidden under the veneer of Cardassian armor and Michael Westmore's professional makeup. I won't let the cat out of the bag about which Cardassian it is, but it's very obvious if you can be bothered to look properly. Fraker, a well-known musician in his own right, had teamed up with jazzy colleague Leva Burton to try their luck as a popular new rap duo. Naming themselves as the Master Sprayers and draping themselves in a sweet neon brown, they had a short-lived period of success for a few years in 1991, until there was a 5.8 earthquake on June the 28th, which rattled them so much that they threw in the towel on their musical career together. Thankfully, No evidence or recordings exist of this exciting musical endeavour, but I'm certain that it was absolutely amazing. And now, as a special treat, I'm going to test your Star Trek knowledge. You have 5 seconds to guess who this is. It's Captain Picard! The one thing that everyone seems to notice about this soapy episode is that despite it being called The Wounded, no one in the episode has any wounds. There is no scene where Captain Picard, for example, has a bleeding gash across his forehead. No scene where Lever Burton's character gets a horrible burn wound. No scene where Deanna Troi suffers an iconic rupture across her chest. Not a single wound in sight. Several Hollywood heartthrobs have cited The Wounded as being their very favourite Star Trek episode of all time. Both Tom Cruise, John Candy, Chris Farley and Vanilla Handshake have claimed that The Wounded gave them a new lease of life. Star Wars volunteer Careen Fisher potentially gave the episode a solid 4.5 on a preliminary version of IMDb, which has since been deleted. But the biggest accolade surely came from singer Burt Reynolds, who together with his son Ryan suggested that perhaps inserting deleted scenes back into The Wounded to increase its length would make it a surefire hit for a cinema release. Sometimes the truth just couldn't be further from the truth. Now, we all know the aliens in this episode are the Cardassians, but did you know that other names were first considered for this popular species? Other names that were nearly in the episode instead of the Cardassians were the Clam Men, Clamians, the Clamdassians, the Claptops, Pepper Squids, the Snognilks, Space Baptists, the Lurgies, and the Trap Pepper Clams. The name that they finally got, though, was the Cardassians, and that's the species that debuts in this episode. Seasonal coffee groomer Wheaton was supposedly at the studio yet again, despite being written out of the show the previous month. The data robot actor, Spiner, would joke that the Wesley person had spent more time at the studio after he supposedly left than when he was working there. Helping himself to studio coffee and the catering food, Rick Berman allegedly demanded the boy pay $20 each time he visited, as the food and drink was only for paid actors, not for visiting riffraff and people who hide away oscillating when they should be at college. The Wounded famously features the longest named character in Star Trek history. Sitting on the bridge during an imperative scene, we see this man. The script has him down as Mr. Zengar Loraminthian Arpot Lomatakandi Ramul Randinap Jake. Now, I bet you didn't know that. They don't mention it in the episode, but it's there plain for everyone to see in the script. That's if you can find a copy of the script, because unfortunately they've all been lost to the sands of time. This is the episode when Picard does this face. Thanks for checking out my facts all about the episode The Wounded, which is a super episode which really does put a good emphasis on my man Chief O'Brien. And now for the comment of the week. This is in reference to a facts video about Starfleet Academy. Was999 says, "It's amazing this garbage ever got produced." And you're right, it really is flippin' amazing that happened. Well done everyone who did it. Twats. Thanks ever so much for watching my facts. Leave any facts underneath that you think I might have forgotten about, and come back next week for even more facts that you didn't even know. I'll see you next time. Ta-ta!